Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabowski of Remax. Let me do it one more time. I kind of fumbled your name. Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes. Welcome to the show.
Here we are. Good morning.
Yes, here we are. Good morning. And today, let's talk about HGTV and the influence that it has on the real estate market. Because I mean, everybody. It seemed like every lobby you walked into, like the dentist office or doctor's office or whatever, they all have HGTV on because everybody just seems to love that channel, or at least like my wife does. Like she watches it all the time.
I know, and actually that's a pretty non-confrontational channel
you're
to
right.
have on.
Yeah.
In today's climate,
It's not Fox News, it's not
COVID
CNN,
and all that.
yes.
It's pretty generic.
Yes.
Middle of the road. It's
Yeah.
something that's not going to offend anybody.
That's
Although
true.
maybe you're offending agents as you walk in.
Maybe
But
so.
there's not a lot of us, so
Right.
that's okay.
Right.
If offices choose to do that. But definitely, the media, whether it's TV. I guess the visuals that come out of HGTV, the perception of the process of buying and selling a home has all been influenced by HGTV.
Well, they make it look so simple.
They really do.
Hey, let's tear down this wall, and 30 seconds later, it's like,
Poof, it's done.
It's done, yeah.
It's done. Now, there are those that have the timer, for how long stuff takes.
Yeah.
And I know, having remodeled my house, now we weren't getting it ready to sell, but we were remodeling the house. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to
it
take.
does. Yes,
And
it
so
does.
whatever they tell you, this is a 2-month process.
Mhm.
Well, we have a 2-story house. We basically lived in the upper story while the main level was being redone. It just took a lot longer.
And at least 10 to 15%,
And-
whether we're talking money or time.
Absolutely. Everything costs more than what the quote is, I guess. And that's okay. It's part of the deal because you change your mind as you go,
Sure.
as you're doing things. And I think the HGTVs of the world have really influenced that. And it's not just that, and I don't watch it myself. I think you and I talked a little off air.
Yeah.
My wife will watch that till the cows come home. Saturday
for
afternoon, a Property Brothers marathon drives me bananas.
Mhm.
What is a flip or flop? I don't know.
Yeah.
Fix it or sell it or whatever those. Again, I'm showing my ignorance because I don't watch them.
Yeah.
Because I live it every day and I know it's not real. I know it's not how it happened.
Right.
So, and I think managing buyer expectations along with managing seller expectations of the marketplace is why we're doing the show we're doing today. So from a buyer's standpoint, don't think that on the negotiation your agent's going to whip out their handy dandy flip phone.
Call somebody. Yeah.
Call somebody and say hi.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Yeah.
My client would like to make an offer.
Right.
Really? Great. You'll accept it? Thanks. You bought the house.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen
Not that simple,
It is
yeah.
not that simple. It may be that simple verbally, but in the state of Indiana, when it comes to real estate, it has to be a written contract. It can't be we can't just discuss it. It can't be a verbal contract. So, negotiation many times takes a totally different tact when it's in writing. Why is that? Verbally is great. I mean, you and I talking today, we're looking at each other, we can interface, we can see where you're going, I'm going, all that, but when it's down on paper, it's pretty sterile, right?
Right.
And because it's legal, it's a binding contract.
Right.
So when we write that contract, we're submitting that to the listing agent. If I'm representing the buyer, we're submitting that to the listing agent.
Right.
It's not going direct to the seller. It's going through the funnel of the listing agent to the seller.
Right.
So again, verbally, hey, I can show excitement. All that stuff. But in a contract, all you're getting is, here's the price. So managing that expectation for the buyer, it's not going to happen as quickly as it does on TV.
Okay.
You're not going to see typically just 3 houses. Well, here's your 3 choices.
No. And
that is not the way.
and what is that? House Hunters? I mean,
I think that's the one.
yeah, you know, and really the truth behind that show is that even to be on that show, you have to have just bought a house,
Correct.
and then they pick other, a
Correct.
couple of others.
Correct.
So right. I mean, I looked at probably a half a dozen to a dozen homes,
Right.
looking for my first house.
Right, and those shows actually, as an agent, a lot of times for lake buyers, we'll get an email. Hey, we're looking for people to be on the show. So, hey, those listening, if you want to be on it, buy a lake property from the Skabowski.
Oh, yeah.
Just
There you
go. But they do. They come in and they say a specific price range.
Right.
And if they want to rehab it,
Oh, yeah.
So the people have already bought it. And then they want to come in and film the rehab, and they would do that same thing. Well, you've already got the house that you're in, so they come in. Wow, this one's great.
Yeah, right.
People can see us doing that. But they come in looking at the houses, and then they go look at the other ones and slam those along the way.
Right.
And then ultimately they end up with a house that they already own, that they're in the process of remodeling. But we get those. Every once in a while, we'll get, hey, do you want to go do this? Whether it's a rehab or they're looking for first-time home buyers in a specific price range. They're struggling for content to put on the shows as well.
Sure.
So they want to just bring folks in out of different markets. United States is a big country. So they can go in all different markets. They're trying to get, a reasonable demographic of the entire, or a snapshot of the whole country. So it doesn't happen that way.
No, it
does
doesn't.
not happen that way in the real world.
So managing your clients' expectations is key for you.
Yes.
So they're not living in this fantasy world.
Fantasy world.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk more about this. You're listening to, coming up here next, you're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabowski of RE/MAX Lakes, and we're talking about HGTV and what it has done to the real estate market. And I mean, we talked about they make it look so simplistic, and it's kind of like this fantasy world because what they're showing you on TV isn't really how it's done. So it's a little different than that.
It's a little different. It's not reality, but the fact is, those shows influence not only the buyers, but the sellers in what they think the homes should look like today.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, color schemes. The sliding, the barn door deal.
Oh, yeah. Those are big now.
You see them everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not just HGTV, but the media in general. Pinterest. Right? You've got people that go out and search Pinterest. They're thinking about remodeling their home. They're looking on Pinterest for what's the latest and greatest trend.
That's what my wife does.
Oh, good Lord. Get her off of there. Because otherwise it's going to cost you money. You're going to
of course. Yeah.
You're going to rehab your house.
Of course.
Now, there's nothing wrong with keeping your house updated.
Yeah.
There really isn't. There's nothing wrong with keeping your house updated. But, these are trends today. Are they going to survive the long haul? Now, I'm not saying leave your house 1900 era, oak. Oak flooring, oak trim, oak this, oak that.
Yeah.
Grandma's house. I said wallpaper, right? I mean, we went through that trend of wallpaper.
Yeah.
And then it was just border. Then it was paint colors. I mean, there's new paint colors that come out every year.
Oh, yeah.
It's important to be relevant. And those things are great. So HGTV, Pinterest, TLC's got, all of these home buying, home flipping, all of that stuff. But the media definitely influences the perceptions of buyers and sellers. So, I'm more the conservative, Hoosier, be middle of the road, don't go extreme either way.
Right.
It's going to last you more than 2 years. It's not the latest fad. It's a long-term thing. I can only imagine, and maybe we'll replay this show, in 5 years, and go, where did the barn door...
Yeah.
Where did those things go?
The barn doors didn't make it.
The barn door, or maybe the barn doors took over society.
Yeah, maybe.
And they're on everything.
Yeah, right.
Who knows that? I can't predict what that is. For me to hear that door sliding and closing it doesn't suit me. I'm more traditional, style. But think about just floor plans that you see on HGTV. They're typically open concept.
Yeah, open concept is like taking over.
And that started, late 90s, early 2000s, open concept, the different floor plans than what we had in the 60s. And think back to that. In the 50s and 60s, what was it? 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. Relatively small. You had a living room, you had a kitchen, and 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Boom.
But you had walls in between
Right.
the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. You
Right.
had walls.
Right.
And then my sister-in-law's house, they've got essentially that ranch,
Right.
with the walls, and then they took out like the top halves of the walls, and then they made it like an open concept, and it just, I mean, it does, to me, it looks a lot better.
It definitely does today. And the example that I always use is back as I was a kid, Trans Ams came out.
Yeah.
And back in the day, in the 70s, Trans Am had round headlights.
Yes.
And then when they went to the square headlights, I thought that was the ugliest thing under the sun.
For a little while.
For a little while.
Give you a couple of years,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow.
And then now I look at it and I think, man, those round headlights are goofy.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s, a 78 Trans Am, wow, I guess I'm dating myself here, but a 78 Trans Am, that looked cool.
Yeah, well, I love it too.
That same thing, but then the square headlights came out and said, oh my God, so change is tough to accept, but ultimately those changes become the norm. I mean, look at cars today. They're more streamlined, more aerodynamic than what they were.
Right.
But you had back then, it was boxy. It just styles change. And I guess the whole point is HGTV influences all of those things. So as a seller, it's important that you know what those things are. Now, I'm not saying go and completely retrofit your house to match today's trends. But you need to be cognizant of that if you're going to try to sell, because that's what buyers are looking for.
Yeah, those are expectations now.
Yeah, popcorn ceiling in the 70s.
Oh, it was
Everybody
big.
had popcorn ceiling.
Yeah.
With little sparkly stuff in it. So
Yeah.
But when you walk into a house today and you see popcorn ceiling, the first thing is, oh my God, I've got to take the popcorn ceiling down.
Right.
And it truly is not that big a deal to do. But if you're thinking about selling, that's probably one thing that I would suggest if you're going to do it. Get it out of there. Now, again, not the day before you put the house on the market. But if you're thinking, hey, a couple years I want to do it, that's one update that's going to become more current, because I really don't expect to see popcorn ceilings come back into vogue.
No.
Right? So when I'm talking about things like that, I don't think that's going to be a short-term solution. I think you're going to see ceilings, you're not going to see popcorn ceilings anymore. So if you get rid of those, you're going to improve the marketability of your house. You're going to make it nicer for buyers coming in, or more likely to where they're going to want to purchase your house along the way.
Yeah.
Paint colors, same thing. Don't do anything extreme.
No.
Because buyers don't want extreme. What are you seeing?
Yeah, right. Well, right now, agreeable gray is like the color of the, maybe more than a year.
Right.
It's
been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
So grays and white trim.
White trim, but also white kitchens.
White kitchens
have been huge. But if you go back 10 years ago,
couldn't buy one.
No,
nobody wanted one.
No, nobody wanted one. Yeah, I mean, when you see one, it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But now it's like everybody has a white kitchen.
Yeah. So again, the whole purpose of this show, the discussion, is if you're a seller, you got to understand it. So much as I hate to say it, watch some HGTV so you get some tips. But if you're going on the market next week, don't spend a boatload of money to get it out there. We've talked over and over and over. Feel free to give us a shout if you want some input and insight into what are the latest and greatest trends. We'll be happy to help you with that if you're thinking about selling.
Because really, those latest and greatest, some of those latest and greatest, you can do pretty inexpensively.
Inexpensive. Yeah.
And you can do that and get a good dollar out of your house if you're looking at selling or
if you're thinking about selling them for buyers, you know what? Set the expectation. When you own a house, you're going to have to do some updates yourself. Leave yourself some room to budget. Improve it along the way.
Yeah, good idea. Hey, contact information?
Sure. Website's lakes-realtors.com. Phone numbers 574-834-1233. And we do put this out on YouTube, so if people want to look at your and I's ugly mugs, they're welcome to have at that. So.
Yep, and our coffee mugs.
And our coffee mugs,
exactly. There we go. All right. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.